Well, this is just in that KW decided to take on a relatively big investment from a private equity firm, Stone Point Capital. So what do we think that this means? Does this mean that, hey, this is a strategic, let's take on some capital so we can, continue to expand and dominate the real estate world? Or is this the war chest is empty and we need a little extra one way? What do you guys think?
This is interesting, and I know that there have been talks in the KW world of them going public for years. And so my personal take is the war chest is empty. We know that KW had that massive FCC fine that they had to pay. It was like over $40 million. And then, of course, there was the NAR settlement that they had to pony up.
Which is another 60, right? Wasn't it? Something like that.
And then after this came out, I was curious how other publicly traded real estate companies are doing. So I did a little quick research on the shareholder reporting of Anywhere. They lost $64 million in Q4 of 2024. Compass lost $40.5 million. Remax lost $10.9 million, and EXP lost $9.5 million. Wow. Real hasn't reported yet, so don't quite know what their losses are. So we know that there are lean times in the real estate world in general. So I'm going to go with they needed to extend their runway.
Yeah, the Google says that Gary Keller's net worth is $200 million.
Whoa!
I mean, that was 2023.
Which he was a reported billionaire at one point.
Really?
Yeah, well, look at
I believe so. I'm relatively sure.
And Glenn Sanford as well, right? Yep. He was a billionaire on paper when he went public.
Paper billionaires.
Right, yes. Right. Paper billionaires. Yeah, I think
he probably still is. No, maybe not anymore. I don't know what their stock's at right now. It's up and down.
It's right now. I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the real estate stocks are really down right now, and
and the other thing on this
poor OfferPad is only worth like $74 million or something like that.
Well, I'm actually surprised it's that much. Another company that was at their height, they reported multiple billion-dollar company, OfferPad. But the other thing I want to point out in this, I think that's just so relative for right now, is the facts of the last 18 to 24 months. The real estate market has been down by about a transactional volume of roughly 30%. Mm-hmm. So they've now had to incur these massive fines, these massive speeding tickets, if you will. Mm-hmm. And
that's a nice way of looking at it.
And they're not able to replenish the bank account because of the transactional volume being down so much.
Well, and I also think that they're competing against with the 100% companies too, right?
Yes.
And I feel like we've seen some financials of a Keller Williams before, and it feels like the top dogs of the company have like very good, compensation packages, mm-hmm. and then they're recruiting agents to come in with the lower compensation packages, and that's kind of how they live.
Yeah, they have the full cap, half cap.
But the top dogs that are doing most of the real estate transactions right now are at these high compensation rates. That's going to kill the market centers, right?
Yep.
And so then you get the new agents that aren't doing that many things, or the agents that do a few deals a year that aren't doing many. I mean, those are the 40-50%, 50-50s and the 40-60 40s. They're just not doing much, and so that revenue is really down low. But I was surprised. We had the opportunity to look at a Keller Williams, to buy a Keller Williams, and I was surprised to see their profit and loss, and I was like,
surprised is an understatement. When we looked at the P&L, we were shocked.
And it's a quote unquote thriving office too.
Yeah, we were shocked at that. What I think doesn't get talked about enough is the compensation to agents varies vastly geographically across the U.S. If you are in the West, you are in one of the most competitive compensation markets ever. Realtors are paid, or real estate agents are paid higher than any other place in the U.S. here in the West. So like in Arizona, very competitive. Many agents are on 90, 10s, 100% plans. Not uncommon. Yep. But if you go to the Northeast, you're not going to see 100%s, 90-10s. You're going to see more of the 60-40s, the 70-30s, the higher caps. And so how do we reconcile? Is it because there's so much innovation that happens in the West? Like, what is causing it to be so competitive?
Why is that?
Absolutely. And I also think that really outside of Florida on the East, your per capita per real estate agent is predominantly less. Where in California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, you have crazy competition because the amount of licensees that just operate per the capita. The other thing too that I want to point out that I think that is really relative to what you just said, those splits are different. But if you actually look at the consumers, right, you have people in California that they'll list a house for 1/4% or 0.5%, a very, very low consumer charge, where the East Coast, you don't see that as much. And shoot, there's people out there I know that run really good business models, and they charge like a standard 7%, or before the removal of the buyer agency.
We're not gonna say standard.
Yeah. Their practice was that they would charge 7%. Now with the removal of the buyer agency compensation, I think that has obviously been lowered. With that said, I feel like you see a lot more of these really, really competitive commission rates where they're almost buying the listing, as we like to refer to it, out here versus there.
And I also think I think we're going to start seeing some more MSAs with these companies too. Like with the CFPP shutting down or gone.
I don't know that it's being shut down. They just appointed a new director.
It's not
do
shut
we know
down,
him?
But
we do not know him. No, it's not someone who
someone that rhymes with Dane.
So anyway,
we'll leave that one alone.
Yeah.
Or no, not Dane.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
We'll just leave it alone.
We'll leave that alone.
So so you don't think MSAs are going to be back?
I definitely think they are.
The CFPB they just canceled one of the JP Morgan and the Bank of America Zelle case, and it seems like they're just like going away.
Well, the Rocket Mortgage case was dismissed as well. Yes. So we know that Jason Mitchell is probably popping bottles. He's excited.
So I mean that's what
that was a smart move on his part.
I mean that's what was slowing down all these MSAs. Right?
You think it's a CFPB? Huh?
Well, it was.
What about RESPA? No one's out there policing RESPA.
But isn't CFPP the one that brings the cases for RESPA violations?
They were the ones investigating.
Yeah.
And they were
for the RESPA
weren't they self-funded? They were funded, or were they appropriated
they were funded
by
off the
Congress?
Fines. No, they were funded. They were supposed to be funded off the fines.
Yeah,
that's what I thought too. But I can't quite recall. I'm not sure about Here's the reality: is the transactional volume. I think that we used to enjoy has gone down.
Yeah, I guess what I was just saying is that some of these brokerages, they may only be charging $25 a month for an agent to hang their license there, and they get 100%. But then they
subsidize it with
business with these MSAs with these title companies and
by body counts
and loan officers and loans and stuff, and then they get marketing money.
Yep,
they do. But then
I'll sell you my database of agents.
Exactly. But we also know that a lot of agents go out there and form their own relationships, so they're not relying on those broker partners as they would have in the past.
Yeah. That's why a lot of the agents got pissed off when they started Keller Mortgage, right?
Yep.
They started to like say, hey, you got to use Keller Mortgage. I'm like, well, I'm already getting an MSA with this mortgage company, so. Yeah,
well, and that was tough for using the KW thing and kind of going back into my KW days is a long time ago now. It's an amazing model because I really feel like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, one of the best real estate books I think on the actual practices of real estate ever written. Kudos to Gary and Jay for that. But what I'm getting at there is they pretty much teach you how to go out there and create those relationships, how to build the business as a business, right? Being the true entrepreneur, just with the widget of real estate. And then all of a sudden they try to strong arm you into using their stuff. It actually didn't jive. And I think that's why it had such a rejection across all market centers.
It wasn't congruent with what they were teaching.
Nope.
Well, I'll leave it at this with the KW, private equity play. There was a quote in Housing Wire from Steve Murray, the co-founder of Real Trends, and I really liked it. My congratulations to Gary on having built one of the most significant companies of the last 30 years in residential real estate in the U.S. and the world. So I thought that was really great, and it's really true because it's such a respectable company, and kudos to them.
kudos. They're still almost 200,000 strong.
Yeah.
How do you even, there's nothing else to say other than, oh my goodness, that is a lot of agents that are out there practicing. And when you do agent count, I think that they're still like involved on one of the sides in like 25 to 30% of the transactions that go on. It's insane.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Good job to them, and I hope this plays out well for KW and everyone that's a part of it. So kind of shifting gears, this is a really interesting story. A guy named Mike Chambers out of Boulder, Colorado, decides he's going to sell his house for sale by owner, and he's documenting the entire process on social media. CBS News actually just picked it up and ran a story on it, and he's getting mass attention, mass following. Right. He created an Instagram account, Realtors Hate Me, and has been documenting the entire process. Wow. So he listed his home on Zillow. He claimed that Zillow was throttling down his search traffic. He claims that after he reported it to Zillow, they did a software update. And ever since then, now he's been flooded with buyer inquiries. He's claiming he's getting multiple offers, and he's documenting the entire process online. He's also highlighting out the NAR settlement and still claims that realtors are part of cartel and they are steering buyers away from his property because it's a FSBO.
Is he
didn't
saying
he
that
just say
Zillow is?
Offers?
Yes, he's claiming Zillow is also in on it.
So,
but the interesting thing is, like, let me add this real quick, because remember Rex sued Zillow for the same thing, and the court upheld. In fact, the Ninth District Court just upheld it again, that Zillow is allowed to do this because, see, the MLSs don't allow commingling of the for sale by owner listings, and because of that, they're allowed to segment out the listings. So how it works in Zillow is, if you want to see the for sale by owner listings, you have to go in there and you have to click the button. And he's claiming that that's unfair.
And the default is that it's not clicked.
Correct.
So if you don't go in there and you don't know
how to operate it,
then you won't see those listings.
Correct.
Gotcha. So Zillow's not throttling them. They just have a default to, hey, these are listed by the realtors.
But he's claiming they made some sort of update for his market, and he's going, why didn't you make this update across the U.S.?
Gotcha. So he's
interesting.
Okay.
It is so interesting. So I've watched a few of his videos. He's really articulate. He's doing it in that like very engaging, just like talking head. Like in one video he's like laying in a hammock. Another video he's like sitting in a chair. I mean, it's good. He's making great videos, and I think he started out saying that he did this because he couldn't find a realtor to list his house for less than 2.5%.
2.5% total, or?
Well, for them.
Oh, for
the listing agent, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, well,
where's he at?
He's in Boulder.
Does he have a job?
Wow, I'm really surprised.
I believe he does have a job. This guy, and it's just a nice house. It's like
Boulder,
$1.9 million home. Okay. It's like a nice home.
1,000 square feet for $1 million in Boulder.
Yeah, it's spendy over there.
Yeah, it's super spendy. No wonder why.
But the comments on his videos are really interesting. One realtor commented, "Buyers don't even use Zillow."
What?
I know.
Well, I think they have 300 million unique visitors that state otherwise every single month.
What world are you living in?
Buyers don't even use it.
Yeah, buyers. Claiming that when it gets down to it, they don't even use Realtor, or they don't even use Zillow. They use the Realtor app.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're an agent on some level, you should wish, because then it would go back to the old ways where you had, private inventory where everything wasn't on blast.
Well, then that's the clear cooperation. Like clear cooperation. That's another thing too that I guess depending on who you are will probably depend on how you feel about clear cooperation. But Compass and the CEO of Compass, Revkin, he is absolutely against clear cooperation. He wants it gone. And if you think about it, like, why should NAR dictate how you market your seller's property? Shouldn't your seller dictate how you market their property? I mean, for one, as a boutique brokerage owner, I like clear cooperation. I think it levels the playing field, so to speak, because as you can imagine, if these big brokerages could just have privatized inventory, then
all the little boutiques wouldn't be around.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of where we're going anyway.
And NAR wouldn't get so much money. They get dues from all these little boutiques and all the little brokerages.
That's exactly why they want.
But they would still get the dues from
not
the
if they were out of
agents.
business. Oh,
the agents would still have to go join.
They would have to join a bigger company.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then that bigger company would eventually start to make those splits higher because they can.
Or would they?
Of course they would.
Well, and if you really think about it,
Why
right,
wouldn't they?
without the clear cooperation, and let's just say people, a local will use Compass since we're talking about Refkin here. If they wanted to not work with their local MLS, put it on the market, well then guess what? That to me actually brings back free enterprise and free marketing, right? Like those people that are really good at SEO, the people that are really good at marketing, right? It brings back that opportunity for now them to actually come out and say, hey, look, I actually have a unique skill set to sell your property. Here's how that works. Right? Versus it would honestly, like, and again, I hope don't hate me out here for saying this, but it would cut out a lot of the riffraff, right? Like people that, put in the 4 Ps, put the house on the MLS, put up low quality photos, put up a sign, and pray that it sells, right? Like that is still ridiculously rampant through our industry. Case in point of this fellow who has this Instagram account, doesn't want to pay more than 2.5% because he does not see the value. Mm-hmm. If he saw the value, he would probably gladly pay it.
Well, that's what he said. He said, if I have the savvy to understand transactions, understand marketing, understand how this works, why do I need an agent?
Yeah.
His argument is valid, clearly in his market based on his findings.
Well, I mean, it's time though, right? I mean, there's a lot of time.
It is time.
I mean, it's like, a lot of people sell their cars or trade a car in at the dealership, rather than trying to sell it to on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and you got to have the people come and test drive your car. You're gonna okay, you're gonna drive with them, or are you gonna let them take the car and drive it around? So it's just time. Same thing with real estate. So.
Well, and you got to be willing to have that uncomfortable conversation too, right? It's not that sometimes people don't have the skill set, but if somebody makes you an offer, right, you can tell your agent, hey, I will not accept less than this, or I will not accept less than this for my car. If you have somebody selling the car, and they could be your ambassador, I guess would be the word for that, right? That your fiduciary to carry out your wishes that you want and represent your highest and best interest.
I'll have to say, in private negotiations, one of the funnest exchanges I saw play out was when we sold our boat. So our boat sunk in August. It was like this freak thing. It sunk in the slip in the marina, and we got it out. The insurance company made us whole, but then they didn't want the boat. And so we're like stuck with this boat that's like just sunk. We can't do anything with it. So Jason listed it for sale on Facebook Marketplace. A buyer came along, and the buyer was like, well, you tell the rest of the story because it was
actually a real estate agent. And he said, I'll give you, I think I was asking like 12 grand. He said, I'll give you 10. And I'm like, well, how about 11? He's like, well, why don't we do 10, but we'll roll, or we'll flip a coin for 11. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm like, all right, cool, we'll do that.
Sounds fun.
Like, that sounds cool. Okay, so he came to the office with 11,000 and with actually a $10,000 cashier's check and $1,000 in cash, and he said, let's flip the $1,000. And
that's happened here.
Yeah.
And
so we went in there. Be a part of this.
We went and flipped, and I won. So I won.
Of course, you won.
Yes. So give me the $1,000. Yeah.
That was like the funnest negotiation I've ever been a part of. Okay.
It was interesting.
So if you are, okay, this is a really interesting story, you guys. It's kind of sad, but super interesting. Like, there is no anonymity anymore. And if you are Stephanie Lovins, a realtor out of Columbus, Ohio, oh man, you are facing a PR nightmare. So what happened is Stephanie went into a Mexican food restaurant, and she wrote on the receipt for the tip, 0, you suck. I hope deports you.
What?
Oh, wow. Oh, you just
said. I know.
You have to bleep it.
We'll bleep, and you did too. Okay, we'll bleep it.
Damn it.
We'll bleep it. All right. We'll show the screenshot of this
People
receipt.
don't think,
this
man.
is
They
insane.
just don't think.
So the restaurant tracked her down, found out that she was a realtor with a Century 21 in Columbus, Ohio, and posted on their social media this receipt and exchange that had happened. And let's just say that the internet has went scorched earth on this lady. I think rightfully so. Century 21 has parted ways with her.
Yeah, you can't say that.
and
I hope
And then check this out. She's trying to do damage control at this point, and she's now trying online on social media to say that it wasn't her. Her credit card was stolen. This was somebody else. And the restaurant and the staff of the restaurant, they're saying, lady, we saw you. Yeah, we know it was you. You're just trying to do damage control. But nothing is private anymore. And folks, if you're gonna do something like that, think twice.
Well, and that's her. Like, let's be real, because we've all had bad service, and bad service is bad service. But when you start like insulting somebody, like personally over bad service, like shame on you. I totally disagree.
You just don't know.
Turns out the waiter is not an illegal. First of all, this is like a U.S. citizen working 2 jobs to support his family. Just clearly maybe was having an off time. Who knows? But yeah, if you're gonna just be so harsh on people, I don't think I've ever stiffed anybody in my life. I've not either. Because I've waited tables, right, like I know when you are having a bad day. Exactly, and I get it. If you want to stiff somebody, fine, that's your right. But then to go in often and like insult them and be like deported, like just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And
you have no idea what somebody's going through that day.
No, you don't. Like where's
so distasteful
where's the
grace
and
trash.
Yeah.
And then she lies about it.
And then she.
Credit card got stolen.
Honestly, like to me, she got what she like. With that, you got what you deserve.
The damage control attempt, I thought it was valiant. I was like, that's a valiant effort there. Like I'm reading the damage control and I'm going, okay. Wow, until the video evidence surfaces, and then she's really SOL. True.
Well, what do we think about since we another bleep, by the way, latest announcement of to build the crypto reserve,
the strategic Bitcoin or reserve. It's actually cryptocurrency.
Yeah. He blanketed it because there's actually several different things from.
Yeah, he mentioned XRP, Cardano, and Solana. Yeah,
Solana.
But then everyone was mad. Yeah. And then he came back and said, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum too.
Well, he's a large holder of Ethereum, so
yeah, it was a very strange tweet, and a lot of people are mad, thinking that like, hey, he pumped it and then dumped it, and then it dumped the next day because of all the tariffs, and then even was on there saying like, hey, this is I love how he did this on a Sunday to allow all the retail investors to get in before the ETFs, the ETFs, or the big institutional buyers.
But there was no,
and then that Monday, then yesterday it crashed. Everything was down. So there are a lot of people that are just kind of like, what the heck happened?
The last couple, like, with the tariffs and just everything, it's definitely.
And now it's back up.
It's pumping.
It's pumping again.
It's going again.
XRP was pumping, I know, this morning. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moral of the story is if you're gonna buy cryptocurrency, you have to buy it as a long-term investment. Think
don't buy fart coin.
Yeah. Don't buy fart coin.
Yeah, the meme coins. I mean, I think there's and I would love for Keith to be here on this because he's a huge meme coin fan, and I think that there is a place for meme coins if you can do it. If you're willing to pay attention to those charts, if you're willing to plug into those communities, if not, if it can't be like a good percentage of your time, and really to study and pay attention to those charts, stick with things that have utility. And like we've been talking about here, to me, you don't buy in unless you're planning on being able to make that investment for 5 years.
So we know that first-time home buyers, as a percentage share of purchases, it's really down. But check this out, 11.6% of first-time home buyers use crypto for down payments.
Wow.
So
11?
11%.
Whoa.
So I think that, think about it, makes sense. First-time home buyers skew younger. I know that it's, they're older now than they ever have been in general, on average. But typically they skew younger, so it makes sense.
Well, because that's the only subset of people that can afford a new home, or a first-time home buyer, because they made money on crypto. They're like, all right, we made money. I can buy a house now.
Yeah.
I know.
Right?
But 11%, that's shocking to me that it's that high.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So.
But they don't actually use crypto.
Yeah, of course
they
they're selling
exchange it for dollars,
but they
and then,
have crypto and they
which
exchange it.
sucks. Because now they're paying taxes on it,
Yeah.
and then they have to, and then they, it's. But apparently, I've heard through the grapevine, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this Friday, the president is going to potentially say that all crypto transactions are going to be non-taxable events.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
That will be insane.
Which
that'll be a pump if that happens.
I don't know. I think it might be a dump.
Could it be a dump?
Why?
Well, because think about all the people
that
they have, they made a couple $1 million in
Got
crypto, and now they're like,
Got it.
shoot, now I can sell it and cash out.
Yep.
Right? And wait for another dip and then buy. Because a lot of people are holding on to, I hold on to my crypto no matter what, but especially because I know if I sell it, I would play the market more. If I sell it, every time I sell it, now I'm 25% of that profit is going away to taxes, and every time I sell it, it's a taxable event, which then also makes your taxes go higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of that, I thought that was another cool thing that came out last week. Is that the first crypto summit is going to be held at the White House?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's Friday.
Really cool.
Friday. That's what's happening.
It's Friday.
It's Friday,
okay.
yeah.
And so that's when you're hearing that we may get the announcement that they'll be non-taxable.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a great thing, but then it's also like, okay, would the market crash? Would that crash the market? Because
I didn't think about it like that, Jay. I mean, I
totally
see your argument as soon as you point it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you made a couple $1 million on crypto and you have a 25% tax bill,
and now all of a sudden
you get your $2 million out, you owe $500,000 in taxes. But if now all of a sudden Friday he's like, no taxes, now I got my $2 million. Take $2 million, I don't have a $500,000 tax bill.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with the money? Where do you put it? Do you just keep it in cash until what?
I mean, I wouldn't sell it anyways. To be honest with you, I mean,
Your
because it could dip and then it could come right back. So, or it's gonna come right back, but
yeah,
could be
that is
a temporary dip.
Yeah, I find it interesting how much of the highs and the lows we've gone through, right? Because I mean, I always look at like Bitcoin, of course, like where went through this compression cycle, and it went down like 18%. I think it was like over basically a 30-day span. And then I looked at like XRPs and some of the other more stable coins, and they went down like 25%, which that goes to show exactly what has been being proved with Bitcoin is that it's not having as big of a dip, but it's also not seeing as big of a spike, right? So sometimes, like I'll actually look for those dips and try to buy in at that 25% dip because I know it's just energy, right? It went swung this way, it's going to swing back the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interesting times for sure. Hey, thanks so much for following us along. If you've gained value out of this episode, please give us a like, drop us a comment, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you're updated of our new episodes.
Thanks for watching.